Welcome back to The Line. Now, here's a question. Does everyone need a lobbyist? That was the headline to an article by Andrew Oxford, a reporter with the Santa Fe New Mexican. He wrote about what he called an army of lobbyists that will be working in Santa Fe during the 30-day session this year. Now, these lobbyists represent towns, counties, villages, school districts, colleges, and even charter schools, mostly, if not entirely, on the taxpayer dime. And Senator, the article pointed out that it might be seen as a waste of money and sort of counterintuitive to a lot of citizens out there that municipalities need to hire paid lobbyists, sometimes on the taxpayer dime, to represent their interests because you have representatives and senators that do the same thing. Does that seem kind of odd? I'm curious from your point of view as an ex-senator, why is that? Why do we need lobbyists to do work that representative government would seem to be hired to do?
Yeah, it's a good question. So does everybody need a lobbyist? No.
Okay.
I don't need a lobbyist.
Right.
But lobbyists really provide an important function in the system. For instance, you have legislators that meet with different groups, the teachers' unions, the pro-life, pro-choice folks, the realtors, up front before they run for office. And they hear about issues. And maybe based on whether or not this group or that group decides that this person is going to be a friend or foe in the legislature, they give them money. There's 2,000 bills every year. We have 3 times as many bills in New Mexico as they do in Colorado or Arizona. Both those states have 3 times, we have three times the population. We have too many bills. More eyes on a particular piece of legislation is better.
Let me ask you a question about effectiveness, however. Who would be more effective to talk about a town or municipality's needs or wants? Would it be that town manager or mayor or a lobbyist? And again, the question is, why can't those folks do that for themselves or through their representative versus a paid lobbyist being paid, $2 to $4 grand a month? Why is that even necessary?
Well, that's a good question, and I think the bigger question is, do you want a county manager spending 60 days in Santa Fe?
Right.
Or do you want a county manager working in the county, fulfilling whatever job description that he has?
Fair enough, fair enough. Sophie, what do you think on that question? Who gets served here in this system?
I think under our current system, a municipality is probably crazy not to have someone advocating for them in the legislature.
Okay.
We have an unpaid legislature. It is not a full-time legislature, although I know that our legislators do spend quite a bit of their own time in the pursuit of their legislative duties.
Right.
I think at the same time when we say, do the county managers have the time to be doing that work during the legislative session? Do our legislators have the time to be doing that work on top of what they're already doing outside of the legislative session?
Gotcha.
So absent a full-time legislative body and absent more robust government that has people on staff who can handle that and for whom it is their job, this is the outsourcing of that function. We certainly, we all think we all like a lobbyist or don't like a lobbyist depending on whether we agree with their employer and the goals that they're pursuing.
Yeah.
But, if you're a community in New Mexico and you really need money for a bridge, you really need a new rec center, you need whatever it is, hold harmless, for instance, on the gross receipts tax issue. Not having a lobbyist probably means you don't get heard at the level that is necessary.
Tom, Sophie makes a good point about infrastructure needs. In fact, the article, Red River was given as an example. Not a lot of folks live in Red River full time, but they have some needs to upgrade their water system and all that kind of a thing. Appropriate to just hire a lobbyist to do these kind of things? Or I ask again, is not the mayor of Red River the best single voice to go to legislators and say, these are my needs?
Yeah, I agree with that statement. That the electeds, talking to electeds, I think has a huge impact. You have appointeds though, who are going to talk to electeds, and I think that could be sometimes a waste of money because you have higher education, for example.
Okay.
You have universities, you have community colleges, which for their own reasons and stuff, and it's all strategic.
APS has a lobbyist.
APS,
sure.
yeah,
UNM,
yeah, K-12,
exactly.
and but they also have staff that go up there on a regular basis, and is really using a lot of that administrative staff to monitor a legislative process, a good use of funds. I would say probably not. It might be a bit overkill, but seeing how much reliance there is in a lot of these arenas on state funding, it's a good move to make.
Sure.
The other aspect is that lobbyists, as Sophie mentioned, are getting paid much more than the legislators. So it brings up to, and they'll always get paid more. By the way, it doesn't matter if you have a paid legislature, which I think we need.
Sure.
But they're always going to get paid more, and more eyes on a piece of legislation. I'm okay with that as long as they're objective eyes.
Okay.
I think when you get special interest industry providing those eyes, weird things happen.
Sure. Stephanie, we're down to about 2 minutes here, but there's some big dough floating around. You talk about lobbyists. It's not just people making $500 a month. We're talking big dough from oil and gas and all these other entities
No,
too.
I think Tom provided a great segue. I think it does depend on the objectivity or the lack thereof of those eyes on those bills, because I do think that the amount of funds that we see within the lobbying industry, and as Sophie mentioned, depending on with whom they're being employed by, really does, I think, speak volumes to how legislators are going to react, how they're going to respond. I do think that the money in all of this, both in politics and the lobbying industry, I think it, Steve Terrell's article in the New Mexican where he outlined the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to corporate lobbyists.
That's right.
Really shows the impact and how disproportionate it is to the everyday hardworking New Mexico family that doesn't have the time and the resources and the capacity to go up and lobby on their own behalf. So I think this really speaks to the need to greater civic engagement, for us creating and really supporting a system, a policy-making system that allows for greater public input. And I think that the webcasting is a great example, and Senator, I think that was a fantastic.
Let me ask Sophie one more question here. Fred Nathan from Think New Mexico makes an interesting point that his point is this shows how inefficient and untransparent, if that's a word, this really all is when you think about this need for lobbyists. That if we did our business in a different kind of way, you wouldn't really need to have all these lobbyists.
Well, and without knowing all the details of what Mr. Nathan is exactly talking about there, I think I don't disagree with him.
Right.
In the big picture, this is not a fully functional system. Anybody who's spent time around the 30-day or the 60-day knows that. However, this is life or death for these smaller communities throughout the state, and for our APS larger entities as well. And I think this is what it is. We haven't managed that reform.
Thank you all for this one. We have to wrap it up, so we'll have to wrap up this discussion now, but stay tuned in the coming weeks for more coverage of the state legislature and other news of the day.